Welcome to the Reviews Without Remorse podcast with Joe and Dave. Be warned, the discussions in this podcast will contain detailed spoilers. For spoiler-free reviews of newly released films, please check out our channel Reviews Without Remorse on YouTube and VidMe. Enter at your own risk and enjoy the show.
Welcome to the podcast that hides the tomb of Himiko. This is David Lamont, and I solve ancient Japanese toy puzzles in my spare time. And coming along for the ride is my ass-kicking, arrow-shooting, MMA training brother in movies, Joe Darlington.
What's happening, fellas?
This is episode 57, and in this show, we will discuss a live-action Star Wars TV show has been talked about forever now. This time, however, it has a new lead in Jon Favreau. Indiana Jones 5 has been announced, Shia LaBeouf not included. A trailer for a surprise movie coming this year dropped. Joe and I are curious about this new independent movie, Avengers Infinity War. And finally, because I am a silly man who should be careful what he jokes about, Joe and I will take a crack at the new Tomb Raider.
A lot of things that I am very mixed on this week.
Yeah, you could say that.
Except for Infinity Wars, which is probably not a surprise.
Yeah, I know. Isn't it amazing? This surprise movie just came out of nowhere and it's just captured our hearts.
There you go.
Okay, so it has been announced that Jon Favreau is going to be leading a live-action Star Wars show. Now, before Lucasfilm even sold Star Wars to Disney, there has been talk of a live-action Star Wars show since I can't even remember when. So now we're talking about Jon Favreau, he who let's call it like it is, he who helped create the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Is now about to dip his toes into Star Wars and try to make it into a television series. Joe, what's your feelings on that one?
Wow, am I torn on this one? It's seriously, I am as torn as I can be. Love it, I hate it. Jon Favreau, stellar talent. And I have the utmost faith that if anybody can pull it off, it is him.
100%.
Given the current landscape over at Lucasfilm, headed by Kathleen Kennedy, I am, talk about trepidatious and talk about, John, are you sure you even want to go there? Are you sure you even want to stick your head in that lion's mouth? How many directors have been fired so far for not towing the Kathleen Kennedy line, we'll say? And I don't know. If I was John, I'd be very skeptical about doing this. If he can have the creative control that he needs to deliver, I think he will. And again, this is also, when I first heard this, I just said to myself, so as far as I know right now, we've got a Rian Johnson series. We've got a Game of Thrones series. Now we've got a Favreau series. How many series on top of series are we going to have?
It's called oversaturation.
Oh.
Oversaturation.
We're going to be running back for the days of the Christmas special.
At this point, yeah. Look, I'm as much a Star Wars fan as the next guy, and I kind of sort of see... It's funny. It's like Disney's bought into the Marvel way of doing things, where Marvel is doing like they're averaging 3 movies a year, okay, and it seems Disney has bought into that way. It's like, well, if Marvel can do that, Star Wars can do that. It's like, guys, look, honestly, I love Star Wars, or I don't know, is that even the case anymore? Do I still love Star Wars, Joe? I kind of feel beaten down by that one.
Let's say that we still love classic Star Wars.
Yeah, I would say that's
and
a
we'll
probably
always
very good.
and we'll always.
Yes, That's true. You can't really take that away from us, no matter how hard you try.
Yeah.
But I kind of feel like the universe isn't big enough, really. I feel it to me. Okay, Star Wars Rebels. Have you watched Star Wars Rebels?
I have not, but I've heard good things.
Okay, Star Wars Rebels was an amazing, amazing show. And it kind of shows me that, you know what, maybe there is stuff to be mined from this extended universe. Because I loved it. I loved it from beginning to end. I cried when the series finale played a couple of weeks ago. I admit it. Big man like me, I freaking cried. Spoiler alert, if Captain America dies in that independent movie, Avengers Infinity War, bawling, gonna be bawling my brains out. Gonna be like a little 3-year-old who just skinned his knee. So it is possible, but there is nothing that's been coming out from Star Wars lately that has me feeling like, oh goodness, this is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. The reason we get excited by the new Marvel movies is they have a track record. They have a successful track record. And even their lesser movies are still better than some other movies, great movies at this point.
Pretty much. Exactly. Yep.
So yeah, John, I love you. And I'm going to give credit right here. Jon Favreau fought to get Robert Downey Jr. in the part as Tony Stark. Jon Favreau fought to have Stan Winston be the designer of the original Iron Man suit. Okay, these are the things that Jon Favreau brought to the table.
Yeah.
Okay, it was Jon Favreau that came up with the idea of doing that little end scene with Samuel L. Jackson as, kind of like a joke, and there it was.
Mm-hmm.
So the guy has great ability. I've loved just about every movie he's ever done. Hell, Chef. I've loved even Chef. Something completely outside you would think of a Jon Favreau type genre, and I love that movie. Heck, I even liked The Jungle Book, much to my chagrin.
The Jungle Book was excellent. You can't. That's a movie I think you try as you want to not like that movie because it's a remake and because of what it is. It's hard. You can't not like that movie. Again, it was a great movie.
Yep. If Jon Favreau stays on to the end, if this is one of those situations where he is completely involved with it right up to the first season of the show, I'll have a little more faith. But my money is that like they'll get the final treatment and stuff like that, and then it'll be like, I'm just knocking myself down to executive producer. Guaranteed.
Yeah. I could definitely see him doing an Affleck and saying, you know what? This is just too good for the likes of me, and I'm stretching myself just way too thin here, and yeah, we'll see. John, you know what? You're still money, and you don't even know it, buddy. Best of luck to you. That is one jungle I would not want to traipse through right now, but you know what? You do what you do.
Indiana Jones, all right.
Hey there, Stan. All set to see my new adventure?
You bet, Indiana. No. Look out, Indy. It's Steven Spielberg and George Lucas.
Well, hello there, Indiana. You're looking good.
No, what are you going to do to him?
Oh, yeah. No.
Andy!
Yeah, get his pants down. Get his pants down. Hold him, Lucas. Come on. He ain't going nowhere. Yeah.
No, stop! Ray!
So, it's actually official. They're actually doing Indiana Jones 5. And it's going to be missing actual cannibal Shia LaBeouf.
Another announcement that I am wildly torn on.
I mean, it's basically just an announcement at this point. It's just like, yes, we're doing this. I mean, tell you read the announcement. Tell me a little bit about this, okay?
I don't have anything. The only thing I know is that Spielberg did say very clearly that he is going to be filming Indiana Jones 5 next year. He will be doing at least part of it in the UK, and that is all we know right now. But he has confirmed that he is going to do it. So, and again, I'm with you. I don't think Shia LaBeouf will be in it. Thank God. What they're going to do with this one, I mean, I'm going to take a wild guess and say that Spielberg would like to end the Indiana Jones story on a better note than what was the Crystal Skull.
Right.
That's my prediction. So with that in mind, I do have a glimmer of hope in my back pocket that, I mean, again, he hits some speed bumps here and there, but I think, frankly, the biggest speed bump is named George Lucas, and is probably, kind of, I'm sort of doing, I'm like a lot of guys who are sort of doing a little backpedaling when it comes to the Lucas bashing in light of recent events. So you know what? I would not mind it if they said, George, where do you think we should go? And he just kind of throw his 2 cents in, and then from there you leave. Okay, George, thanks. And you go off and do your thing. 'Cause Spielberg is still, to this day, he's no slouch, and I am expecting wildly good things from Ready Player One.
So far, the buzz has been really good for it.
There you go. The guy does not do poor work. If things don't go awry, there's usually a reason.
Yeah.
I'm really hoping he, like I said, is kind of just a little regretful about Crystal Skull, does not want to leave it that way, and feels that he could have done better. And with that, maybe he feels like he's got more to give to this project. So I'm hopeful. I'm a little hopeful, but again, after that last one, I'm not running to the theater either.
Look, to me, this is the attempt. This is the attempt to Rocky Balboa Indiana Jones. That's what I think this is going to try to be. Mm-hmm. Okay? Whereas you had Rocky 5, where you and I just were like, what the heck was that? Yeah. That's not the way we want to send off Rocky. Then along comes Rocky Balboa, which we both agreed if they never made another Rocky movie, we would be completely satisfied with it.
Yeah.
As a series, and went out on a high note as far as we're concerned.
Sure.
Only to have the miracle that was Creed.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think this is what this is really about. This is the Indiana Jones redemption, and I'm really, 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 really hopeful. Only because it is Spielberg. It is Spielberg. Doing this on his own, and I'm sure Harrison Ford will have a say or two in it as well. And I don't know. It's hard to say. I want to be hopeful, but at the other side of the coin, I'm kind of like, you know what? Right now, you don't give me a lot of hope. I'm with you on the Lucas thing. I'm completely with you on the Lucas thing. On the one hand, I feel like, well, maybe because Lucas isn't there, it's gonna be better. It's like, but we've got Star Wars to show what that's done.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't know. But I this much I do know. This much I 100% do know. My ass is going to be in a seat.
There you go. I mean, you know right now it's going to be on our schedule when the time comes.
Yeah.
So, okay. Look, Steven, I'm hopeful. Give us a good send-off. Give us something, give Indiana Jones the respect he deserves. And
exactly.
The entire time I knew him, he only ever had one goal: to wipe out half the universe. If he gets all the Infinity Stones, he can do it with the snap of his fingers. Just like that.
Tell me his name again.
Thanos.
Okay. So,
We got one advantage.
I watch that trailer. Words don't know how to make.
Yeah.
Jesus, please. So, ladies and gentlemen, what we're talking about here is the Avengers Infinity War, the latest trailer, the last full-length trailer, and it was just astounding. I'm sorry, fanboy me, write me off as some Disney shill if you wish, but considering our first story, don't dare. But yeah, I was floored by the entire trailer from beginning to end. Just every single shot just had weight, had emotion throughout the entire thing. Little thing, 2-second shots of Doctor Strange with a bunch of freaking glass needles in his face, and I'm wincing watching that. And there's I think his name is Ebony Maw. Is the one that's like, you know, the weird looking creature that's putting his hand to his lips like, shh, it's okay, you know, in that really creepy manner.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I tell you, when we watched the trailer over the weekend, Mary and I, and of course she's going, now, who is this purple guy again? And I'm like, well, let me tell you. And I pulled up a video on YouTube which showed every clip of Thanos from the very first Avengers till today. And
right.
And of course she's like, oh, right, that guy. Oh, right. And, you know, they really did build up to this carefully, slowly, and so you know, it's funny. As I'm watching this and I'm getting a glimmer of Steppenwolf, but I'm saying to myself, but look, they planned this for a decade. I mean, you know, or almost a decade. I don't know when the first Avengers was, but even then, I almost want to attach the Iron Man between Iron Man and the original Avengers into that timeline, sort of, because I feel like this was so well planned out in advance. So, you know, I have faith. I mean, I got more than faith because, like you said before, I mean, you know, every Marvel film gets better and better and gets you more and more excited for what's coming next. You know. And this is the culmination of all of that. And I mean, just seeing all of these faces, these heroes, all in one trailer. You just, I mean, when Spider-Man introduces himself to Doctor Strange, I love that. I was
hi, I'm Peter, Doctor Strange. Oh, we're not using our real names. I'm Spider-Man.
Right? That was great. I love that. I mean, you know, I mean, I'm just saying to myself, this is going to be epic. This is going to be tremendous. And I can't see this being anything less than magnificent, frankly. So I am just sort of totally on board.
I am terrified. To be perfectly honest with you. First of all, you know, you made the comparison to Steppenwolf, and I can get that comparison. The difference is that, you know, we've had hints of Thanos so far, and the trailer actually appears to show a scene where Thanos first meets Gamora as a young girl.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, so I think they're going to flesh the character out a little bit before they get it going, which, great, perfect. You know, please do that. The character definitely needs a proper introduction.
Mm-hmm.
All right? And even his little thing like, you know, I hope they'll remember you, was like the most sinister sincerity that I've ever heard on somebody he's just about to kill.
Yeah.
You know? Just killing me. And oh God, don't even get me started. Don't get me started, because I'm gonna cry my damn eyes out as I'm watching Steve Rogers take two of his fingers in his hand and push back against Thanos at the last part of the trailer.
Yeah.
Don't do this to me, Marvel. They're gonna do this to me, aren't they? They're gonna do it. They're gonna kill Cap.
I don't know. Listen, you know, these films cannot go on indefinitely, and there is a right time, I guess, to end certain character.
Shut up, Joe. Shut up. Don't break my heart. Don't break my heart.
I tell you what. I mean, going into this with the idea that anything can happen is that does amp things up a bit. And like I said, I got nothing but faith, frankly.
We only have a month to go. I already have my tickets.
Yeah, I mean, and again, this is only the first part of Infinity Wars. I mean, the next one is already. So I mean, just this one coming up is going to be tremendous.
I'm more curious about where it is they're breaking up and how they're going to do it in such a way that it doesn't affect the remaining Marvel movies, you know? Because we still after this we have Ant-Man, we're going to have Captain Marvel, and then Infinity War 2. There's two full movies between now and Infinity War 2, or whatever the title winds up being.
That is interesting too, and I wonder if Ant-Man is. I wonder if they're going to purposely set that before Infinity Wars, just for that reason. Because like, how are you going to have him just dangling out there doing his own little, you know, fun little adventure on the side while Infinity Wars is sort of happening?
Don't know. That's going to be very interesting where they put it off. But yeah, we're excited about this independent movie, ladies and gentlemen. I think I've made that joke too much now. Yeah, sooner the better, man. April the 27th is not close enough as far as I'm concerned.
Amen.
What's your name?
Laura.
Surname?
Croft?
Lara Croft, the fiercely independent daughter of a missing adventurer, must push herself beyond her limits when she finds herself on the island where her father disappeared. Written by Geneva Robertson Dort and Alistair Siddons, directed by Roar Uthag. Ladies and gentlemen, Tomb Raider. I'm sorry! I'm so sorry!
Well, you know what? Listen. But I tell you what, before we even get started, this was a first for me. I went to the theater by myself last night. I asked Mary, I said, you know, my girlfriend Mary and I have seen pretty much everything, every new movie that we've done so far. I'm 90% sure that we have seen every one of them together.
Right.
This one, probably just because we sat through over the snowy weekend, we watched Jumanji. And
the new Jumanji?
The
new Jumanji?
Yeah, the new one with The Rock and Kevin Hart. And you know what? It was we both kind of agreed it was just a solid, cute, and not the kind of thing you need to pay attention to, and it was just fine. And I said, by the way, Tomb Raider, and she's like, you know what? I think I'm gonna let you just handle that one on your own.
Wow,
and,
how sweet of her. How freaking sweet of her.
And apparently most of the movie-going public felt the same way because I literally sat in the movie theater by myself. There was not a single soul in the theater beside me, which was nice because I could stretch out and yawn and cough and fart and do whatever I please. And, so it was interesting. So,
short of a pause button, it was like being at home.
There you go. So, anyway, having said that, Tomb Raider, my friend, you are the gamer, so I'll let you start off. What as did it satisfy all of your gamer cravings for more Lara Croft Tomb Raider?
Lara Croft, and no, it didn't. This movie was based on the 2014 reboot of the series, simply called Tomb Raider, that posited a adventure, Lara's first adventure, where she became stranded on an island that was overrun by the bad guys, and she, it was a fun, great game that at first it was about survival, and then it became about, actually raiding the tombs, and it was a great game. And that's what this was kind of sort of based on. But they kind of forgot a couple of things. For example, they completely forgot that Lara, read what I just said at the beginning. The fiercely independent daughter. Okay? Mm-hmm. Her butt had to be saved like 3 times. How is that fiercely independent?
True.
Okay?
I did find... Go ahead.
I just, that was the first thing that bothered the hell out of me. The thing that happened in the game, how Lara got away from the bad guys in the game was like a logical method. They, one of the guys kind of pulled her aside, for ill intent, and she beat the crap out of him and escaped. That's how it happened in the game. Mm-hmm. Okay? And then she fashioned her own weapons. She fashioned her own stuff. She did everything on her own and went back and started. Not that, oh, look, her father found her. Not he had to nurse her back to health or anything like that. It only got good, really, when they finally got to the tomb. And even then, it wasn't that good. Mm. They did the Indiana Jones, the breath of God, and the word of God and stuff like that.
And honestly, there wasn't a whole lot of that. But go ahead.
Yeah, which was the other side of the coin.
Yeah, I was a little surprised, frankly, how little of that there actually was. And honestly, if I'm not remembering, maybe I'm not remembering certain things. I kind of felt as if there was like one time where there was like a problem-solving moment, which and beyond that, I didn't find much of that at all, frankly. And but go ahead,
And they didn't even explain to you how she solved the problem. She twisted a couple of Rubik's Cube things around and, I got it. There it is. I'm in.
Right? Yeah. Well, there was the one. I mean, the one I'm thinking of is the when they had the multicolored jewels, I guess, and one of them was going to be the key to stop the floor from falling out. Which, again, 20 minutes later, is there any floor left? I mean, what's the point anymore? But they then they go through there must be 2 colors to make. We'll get blue and yellow to make the green, because I guess, and she says like the color of life or something like that. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. So they make green, and that makes everything stop, and it's like, okay, fine, whatever. I don't know, not very impressive, but
I never really felt like any tension. I never felt really any moments of exhilaration. That whole opening, the fox hunt, okay, with everybody chasing after her tail.
Yeah.
Talk about a metaphor. With the paint and everything like that, I felt nothing that entire scene. I was like, what is the point of this?
Yeah. Plus, I felt like she cheated, but
she did cheat.
I mean,
she totally cheated. But that.
Yeah, I mean, when she jumped in the back of the truck, I mean, I literally sat there going, wait a second, and that's cheating.
Yeah, she did cheat, but that's okay. That's Lara. That's Lara Croft. She's she does whatever she has to do to win.
But I want to see ingenuity, not cheating. I mean, there's a difference.
No, I'll grant you that, and I didn't say it was perfect.
Yeah.
I didn't even particularly care for it.
Yeah.
We're introduced to her. We're introduced to her father. We're introduced to Kirsten Scott Thomas as her aunt or something like that.
Yeah.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah.
Derek Jacobi as the lawyer, whose only job it is, and that was a screwy little thing. It's like, she's about to sign the papers. Let me give her the last thing her father got before she signed the papers.
Yeah.
Sure, okay, that's a cute conceit.
Yeah, exactly. I honestly, there was a lot of that at the beginning. I found that to be mildly frustrating. Like they're already starting out with. She lives literally just slightly above the poverty line because she will not take money from her ridiculously rich family. But does that mean you don't have any other means at your disposal than to be a delivery service for fast food? I didn't understand that at all. Like, why can't you hold a regular job if you chose to? Why are you literally flat broke? I didn't quite understand that.
I don't know. They wanted to make her grounded.
I know, but it's like they were going way overboard with that already off the top. Like it was like already I have these weird questions. Like, wait a second. Well, why? But why would you? Again, you have means and you are an intelligent person. Just because you don't take the money that your parents offer you does not mean that you are not allowed to earn a living like everyone else.
Right.
So again, I'm not understanding that. If you want to make something of yourself on your own, that's fine. But why is the movie trying to tell me that she can't? You know what I mean? I mean, they're going to tell me that she's incredibly smart and incredibly able in a lot of other ways, but she can't do anything except hustle a couple of bucks by, racing the other guys on the bikes or, delivering food. That didn't make any sense. Already I'm a little confused by what they're trying to tell me.
And here's another thing, and this is going to be just a personal thing, okay? How does that endear me to the character? Because here's my thing. She could easily pay for her fees at the boxing place. Easily pay for the fees.
Right.
Instead, she's going to go up against a bunch of guys who probably could really use the money and just basically take it from them.
Right. Yeah, and cheat, by the way.
and cheat.
See, and again, that was again, this whole thing was she would not believe that her father was dead. She refused to believe that he was actually dead, and I frankly didn't even understand why that was. I didn't quite like. Again, I'm not seeing what she's seeing at this point. Why are you refusing to believe he's dead? But of course the movie knows he's not dead, so of course Laura has to know. But even then, I'm saying to myself, look, let's say your father is still alive. You could take that money and have as much resource as you need to go rescue him. And if you find him, you can say, Dad, here's your money back. So it was almost like there was a lot of mental gymnastics that had to happen to really kind of convince me that she should not have that she should be poor because she refuses to believe her father is dead. it just all of that just kind of wasn't getting it.
The initial conceit of the movie is hard to get past. You're absolutely right, and it made it harder as the movie progressed.
It did.
It made it to the point that you start. Here's the weird thing: the villain Mateus is played by Walton Goggins, and he was one of my favorite actors in The Hateful Eight.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he was the sheriff in The Hateful Eight, and I thought he was just freaking fun as hell. All right. I found him more compelling than the Lara Croft character.
Mm-hmm.
All right? I found the freaking drunken boat captain more compelling than Lara Croft.
Yeah, right up until his accent just vanishes. I
found that hysterical.
He was, I mean, again, as long as we're sort of step by stepping it through this movie, she arrives in Hong Kong. And already she, the first people she meets, hey, do you need any help? She goes, yeah, I could use some help. And, of course, they grab her bag and run. And I'm saying to myself, all right, here we go. Here's some action. And she runs them down. Cool. And, she's running, cutting through places and jumping over stuff. And I'm like, all right, okay, all right. And then she grabs the one guy, grabs the bag. He pulls a knife. And I'm saying to myself, oh, here we go. You done messed up. You messed with Lara Croft, buddy. You screwed up. And I'm waiting for her to kick the ever-living tar out of him. Nope. She sees the knife and she runs. And I'm like, okay. I mean, she's running. I'm like, I thought for sure the whole build-up of her being the fighter in the beginning. I mean, they opened up on her. I mean, granted, she gets beat up by a more able opponent, and I'm saying to myself, all right, they're trying to show us that she's not Lara Croft yet. She can't just kick anybody's ass in the world. She's not have unlimited. She's not a Mary Sue. I almost feel like there's the subtitle: Lara Croft, not Mary Sue. Okay, I get it. She doesn't have unlimited resources, and she can't just do everything. Good, okay, but still, I'm waiting for her to show me something of what she can do. Again, we watched her train. She's a fighter. She should be able to take out 3 teenage guys, one with a knife. I kind of was waiting, and then nothing. And then sure enough, like you said, she gets rescued by the guy. He shoots his gun up in the air. Boom. It doesn't speak any English or whatever. And, chases them out, whatever. Then suddenly he speaks perfect English without an accent even. So I'm like, where'd that go?
I'm sure that's because he was initially drunk when he met her, and that was his drunken voice. I have no idea, Joe. I'm not trying to make excuses for this movie.
I know you're not. The fact that he spoke perfect English as if he just got there the same morning as Laura, I was like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So you're right. So already I'm just, again, it wasn't like, I wasn't even complaining yet, just confused by where this film was going. And again, I was trying to sort of give it some points, saying, okay, again, they're not trying to make her a Mary Sue, and they're trying to make her, they're trying to keep it pretty grounded. She sees a knife, so she runs. All right,
which normally I'd be thankful for.
Right, again, see, and I will say this, and I was thinking to myself at one point, I'm saying to myself, maybe this is the problem with video game movies in general, and video game movies historically struggle. I said to myself, maybe the fact that it is a video game movie means that we have expectations that are not fair. Again, the fact that she's running from these guys, probably in another movie, I would just said it was perfectly normal, and that's what any normal person would do. Here, I'm saying to myself, no, I want to see some ass kicking. I want to see run, jump, and kick. I'm going XX square triangle. I want you to kick some ass.
Exactly.
So, but yes, here I am already kind of going. Just I'm not getting anything. So, but anyway.
No, dude, you're 100% right. It's like dare I say it? It's like Zack Snyder's Man of Steel. It's a superhero movie that's almost ashamed to be a superhero movie. In this case, it's a video game movie that's ashamed to be a video game movie.
Yeah. Well, I did sort of feel later on that there were parts in this that I thought did resemble kind of a video game, for better or worse. I kind of felt like at that point, I don't know. Like, are the gamers going crazy because she's running, jumping, climbing, whatever? Me, I'm kind of going, I don't know.
The in the new video game, it's definitely what she's more known for. There's a bit more parkour. There's escape. There's setting traps. There was one of the things that was missing.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, one of the big parts of the game is when she makes her own bow and arrow to fight back. Like, she literally builds her own bow and arrow.
Yeah.
Okay, that doesn't happen here because the father got it for her already.
I did find that to be a little strange too. It's almost like she kind of when she meets the father again and she's like, "Well, I'm his daughter and I'm going to do this," and she grabs the bow and arrow and stomps out. And I was thinking to myself, all of a sudden it felt like Rambo. Like, it was like I'm it was Rambo 2 and even the latest Rambo I was getting a vibe from. But it was like, I'm saying to myself, hey, you don't have infinite arrows. Like, it looks to me like you got 3 or 4 arrows in their tops. So you might want to take it easy. But it was like boom, boom, boom.
And that count changed depending upon the shot. Believe me, I was watching and counting too, and I was like, and that was another thing to me. It's like, if I'm sitting here watching and counting the arrows in her quiver, this movie's lost me.
Probably, yeah. I mean, she should have at least got some guns for this adventure, I would think. I mean, I like the little post credits or mid credits, whatever. When she gets, I'll take 2. But frankly, that probably should have been like the beginning of the film, because that probably would have been a lot more helpful than just the bow and arrow.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna play devil's advocate. And be like, well, originally she thought she was going on a rescue operation. She didn't know she was going to be in that type of dire straits and everything like that. So I can understand her not arming herself, so to speak. But on the other side of the coin, if you're going to tackle the character of Lara Croft on the big screen, you can't just do a teaser of something and cross your fingers and hope that the sequel will allow you to do it.
Yeah.
It's one of my annoyances with the Marvel movies. And yes, I actually do have an annoyance with the Marvel movies. When the hell are you going to say Avengers Assemble?
Maybe this is your I mean, they almost said it in the second one, but
yeah, I know they almost said it. I'm tired of them almost saying it. I want to hear it.
Yeah.
I want to hear it. And I mean, maybe now it's earned. Maybe now it's 100% earned, because when they say Avengers Assemble, there's like 60 people are going to pop up. So, maybe that's what they were waiting for. I don't know. But whatever the case may be, I miss that. And thankfully the Marvel movies have been good enough that's like, okay, yes, they haven't had that iconic line. I keep telling myself they're saving it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, her double guns is like the thing she's been known for since like the first time you started a video game. And I understand you wanting to do things a little bit differently and you wanted to try to lead in. This is the origin story and so on and so forth. But, all it would have taken was like one shot of her picking up a gun and, taking a shot and then trying to get a gun away from another bad guy or something along those lines, and just have her with the 2 guns for a second and just fire at once and be like, even something as subtle as that. And Alicia Vikander, however you say her name, is a good enough actress that she could have sold that.
Yeah.
Okay? Not necessarily here. Here she was a little bit paint by numbers, but I don't necessarily blame her for that. Because I've seen her do much better.
Yeah. Incidentally, too, I noticed in this film that they were really focusing on... I don't know how big she is in real life. I'm going to guess she probably is pretty tiny. But they do... There's a lot of things in this film that really get you to yes, I get it. She's small, all right? Sprout. She is tiny. And there was even a part where, when she finds the VCR camera with the dad's tape in it, whatever, she's watching it. Like,
right.
There was a couple things like where she was grabbing. One was the camera, one was something else, that her hands were like tiny. And I'm like...
Yeah, she's like 5'5".
I'm like, right. So I'm, all right. And I'm saying to myself, was that wise? Like, I mean, I kind of felt like, and I'm not gonna sing high praises for the Angelina Jolie movies, but in there, I mean, she seemed like a big, capable woman that if she did kick some guy's ass, it would not have seemed that strange. But this girl now is probably 90 pounds soaking wet. So
pretty much.
So now when she's kicking guys' asses, and frankly there was not a lot of that in this film at all, I'm saying to myself, well, maybe again, like I said, she's running from the guys at the beginning. I'm saying, well, maybe that's normal because she is tiny. And I don't know. It was almost like, well, why would you get somebody who's that small then, so that when she does do these crazy things, it's going to seem a little more absurd.
My feeling is they were going for a more athletic look, and the woman's got an athletic build.
Sure.
100%. But that's, I don't know, man. I feel like there's so many missteps in this movie that, like, just pointing out one thing. They got her because obviously she was excited about the project and she was a name. And she could actually speak with an English accent, I guess. I don't know, even though she's like Swedish or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, because the rest of the movie is a bunch of, who are these guys? I've seen Dominic West, the guy who plays the father in one or two movies. Walton Goggins, we've talked about. Kirsten Scott Thomas, Derek Jacobi, but they were basically extended, cameos. And that's it. It's basically a cast of unknowns. I don't know how much they spent on this movie. And I'll be honest with you, they must have spent a pretty penny, because one of the things I kind of liked about this movie, one of the things I'll compliment them on, the special effects weren't bad.
Sure. I agree with you. The effects were not bad, and there was probably a lot more CGI than we realized. Well, actually, I take it back. There was a ton of CGI, but again, it was the kind of CGI where everything looked so practical. I mean, I'm talking about the boat in the water with all the rocks and all that sort of stuff. That the big plane that the big rusted out plane in the beginning, has to be all CGI. But again, it's not like I'm not looking at lasers and mists and glowy things, so it's a little more believable. And you're right, that was all fine. I didn't really see anything that made me kind of go, oh, that was fake.
Yeah, not like the waterfall scene from Black Panther fake. I didn't feel any of that.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean everything. I mean, it looked fine, and again, it was just kind of. I almost felt like at the end of the day it was sort of odd what they were actually shooting for. I think they more or less did what they wanted to do with this film. But again, I walked out feeling like okay, all right, fine. I didn't really get much of anything, and I don't know. It was it was really odd too, because there was a lot of funny little bumps in this film. And again, I'm saying to myself, was I not paying attention? Did something just happen that I don't? Why did that just happen? Mm-hmm. I mean, for example, like when the father all of a sudden shows up, there's like a big, like I guess she's starting to stage the mutiny, right? She grabs a couple of guys and they're running for it and they're taking guys out and everything is fine, and they're doing pretty well. And then all of a sudden you see the father, as if he's half drunk, up on the hill by the big door. And she's going, Dad, what are you doing? And she has to run back and get him. And, of course, the guy grabs him, makes him open the door, and there's that whole bit.
Right.
And it's like, why? The guy's been hiding there for 7 years, and he decides now
Today's
to
the day to go up to the
there?
door. Yeah.
Right. And for no reason that I could figure out. So, I mean, again, I was pretty annoyed with that. I'm saying, wait, why? I mean, unless the mutiny had gone wrong, they had Lara, and they're like right about to shoot her or something, and the father pops out as a way to, save her or install or something or other. But everything was going fine, and then he mucks the whole thing up by just picking right now to just stumble out of his hiding place.
Yeah. But, weirdly enough, if they had done it that way, it just kind of would have proved one of my biggest problems with the movie. It's like, oh, look, Lara had to be saved again.
Well, there you go.
So maybe that was the original intention, and maybe they cut that because the director wisely realized, oh, wait, she's getting saved again. Maybe we should kind of, not have that happen.
Yeah, but we fixed that with a plot nonsense. It doesn't make any sense. A plot hole that doesn't make any sense.
There's no reason why the father should have come out of that cave to put himself in the line of fire like that.
Right. I mean, again, he's the one saying, don't open the door. Why? Again, dude, all you had to do was just not go anywhere. It really didn't make any sense. Again, it's not like if he came out because he thought he had to protect his daughter, I would have understood it. But he doesn't. He stumbles up to the door for no reason.
Yeah, that was huge. That was a huge mistake in the entire frame of the movie.
Yeah.
So, and that wonderful surprise at the end, that surprise reveal that Kirsten Scott Thomas was pulling the strings. She's the one running Trinity and so on and so forth. Tell me the truth. Were you surprised? And do I have to beat the crap out of you for being surprised?
I don't. Surprised wasn't even the word. It was almost like, oh, we're doing that. Fine, whatever. It wasn't about surprised or not surprised because it wasn't like anything led or pointed in that direction. I just kind of felt like, it was almost like, we need a little twisty ending. So you're gonna make her the bad guy. She knew the whole time. Mm-hmm. Whatever. Who cares? I don't care. It didn't make a lot of sense. And maybe there was more I was supposed to get from that I didn't.
They were trying to make this whole thing as like the only person that matters is the person on the other end of that line, and so on and so forth, or some kind of nonsense like that. And once they said that, it's like, okay, so it's either the lawyer or the aunt. Which one is it going to be?
So, all right. So am I supposed to understand that the father and his sister, Kristen Scott Thomas's character, were always arch enemies, and he was trying to undo the bad things that she was constantly doing? Is that what I'm supposed to get from this? I just sort of threw my hands up at the end. I was all right, fine, whatever. All right, there's some little twisty. Oh, look, she was in on it the whole time. Well, whatever.
Yeah, and the truth all along was that she was involved. Yeah, no, I would say I walked out of this movie with indifference. Like I kind of felt like
right.
I kind of felt like, first of all, honestly, I started it after I did the intro to the movie. The first thing that popped out of my head when the credits started rolling was, I am so sorry, Joe. It was only a joke. I really didn't expect it to stay on the calendar.
Well, seriously, honestly, if you were not a gamer, I probably would not have. I mean, like I said, you took first crack at this schedule. And the things that were on here, for the most part, I just said, okay, Dave's got his finger on the pulse of certain things. And I guess there are certain expectations for certain films. And, I ran with more or less everything. But like I said, there's even more things on the list that I think we'll discuss down the road. But, hey, look, it's a movie. It's out. It's reasonably popular. So why not review it? I mean, that's what we do here. We can't just review the good movies.
No, certainly do not. Certainly do not.
Yeah. I kind of felt the same way. I'll tell you what, I will say what I did find. There was one part that I found mildly interesting and like, oh, okay. The idea that the thing that he was trying to prevent, and again, of course, like, oh, the great, darkness of the god of so-and-so. I mean, I was waiting for, they were going to open a tomb. And,
like a Wrath of God type scene?
Right, yeah. And just like, look at all the great CGI. The glowy things are flying around and they didn't do that. And instead, the curse was a disease.
Yeah.
And they all started to drop dead. Now, again, I was already scratching my head saying, okay, well, why? How come a couple bad guys are dropping dead and Laura and her father are not? I didn't quite get that part. But just the idea alone that this was an actual sort of a plague as opposed to something supernatural, now that was interesting. I thought that was clever. It was a way to sort of keep it kind of grounded, and yet the stakes still are very high. So that was an interesting twist. I'll give him that.
I agree with you. I actually thought that was actually one of my favorite parts. I was like, wow, okay, so they stayed away from the supernatural element and they tried to keep it grounded. I like that. I like that they put our expectations in one place and pulled it out and pulled them out from under us in a reasonable way. I thought that was a great little thing to do. That was probably the shining moment of the entire movie, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I mean, it was an interesting choice on their parts, and again, I did see. I mean, if anything, I did feel that there was an attempt here to keep things kind of grounded, and almost too grounded, I think. But still, I thought I could see what they were trying to do with this.
Yeah.
And all right, listen, I'm not going to say it was successful, but all right, I'll tip my hat and say it was a worthy, attempt to try to do an adventure movie that was still kind of based in kind of reality. Because again, I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's too much here that is sort of way past reality to make you sort of say, well, why are you even bothering? Yeah. But all right, look, I could see them trying to offset it by keeping certain things grounded, and okay,
think I know where my dad went.
That's right in the middle of the Devil's Sea.
It'll be an adventure.
Death is not an adventure.
All right, well, we're at that point, Joe. So what did you give it as a score?
I tell you what, I'm gonna give it a solid. Well, I was gonna give it a 5, but honestly, you know what? I think I'm just gonna go with a 4. Not a bad movie, not insofar as I would say it bothered me or anything offended me. Hey, it was just disposable sort of fluff at the end of the day. I can't say I'd ever see it again. I was a little squirming in my chair a little bit, kind of going, all right, let's move it along. Nothing about this really impressed me. So again, but I almost feel like it was harmless in a way. So there's a part of me that wants to give it a solid 5, but hey, look, 5 is my, yes, go see it, don't go see it kind of mark, and I can't say it quite hit the mark. I can't really say, yes, this is worth your time, go see it. So I'm going to give it a 4.
And that's the exact score I gave it. Walking out of the theater, I opened up my phone, I went to my little page where I do my notes, and I put in the score 4. As a translation of a video game, it is okay. It gets some things right. It gets elements right as opposed to the whole parts of it correct. Okay? The tomb raiding part was probably my favorite part of the movie because, hey, it's called Tomb Raider. It's about time she started raiding some tombs, don't you think? But even then, it was so dark, and it was really hard to follow what was going on and how the puzzles were being solved and everything like that. So it was like, yes, this is the part I've been waiting for, and they didn't even do that right. Alicia Vikander, there's nothing wrong with her as an actress. This movie was beneath her as far as I'm concerned. I guess Alicia Vikander needs to eat. I'm not sure what it was, but she was fine in the part. The directing was just average. The movie is average at best. Okay, it's an enjoyable enough waste of time, but not enjoyable enough that I would recommend it to anybody else to try and enjoy. Okay, there's no fun in this movie. Okay, and I don't mean jokes. Jokes are not what make fun. I felt nothing during any of the action sequences. Nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, frankly, were there a lot of action sequences that you can remember that really had a lot of action? Not really.
Yeah, you saw most of them in the goddamn trailers.
Yeah. I mean, there was a little running and jumping here and there, but for the most part, there really wasn't much.
Yeah, her going down the rapids, jumping onto the boat, getting onto the boat. About the only line that I laughed at in the entire movie was that whole thing where she's going down the rapids, gets on the wing of the plane, runs into the plane, then the plane falls over the thing, and at one point she's like, "Oh, you got to be kidding me!" That was the only laugh I got in the entire movie.
It's funny you say that because I did the same thing. I literally had just a little quick little chuckle when that happened when she said "really" or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was something like that. It was one or the other. But but soulless. There was really no soul to this movie. I knew the minute the father popped up again that he was just as doomed as he was before. Yeah. And I still felt nothing. I did, they did this little thing. Did you ever see Tron Legacy?
Yes, I think I did. Yeah, I can't remember too much about it.
Okay, so Tron Legacy had this point at the end of the movie. Spoilers for Tron Legacy, ladies and gentlemen. At the end of the movie, Jeff Bridges is sending his son and Cora off. He wants them to get out of the grid, and at one point he says, "Goodbye, kiddo," and you know that this is the moment that Kevin Flynn is going to die. And it shows like a flashback of the two of them when they were at the beach together, kind of similar to the way that, when Richard Croft says goodbye to Lara, it does a very similar thing. Now, when I saw Tron Legacy, when that happened, I was blubbering. I was like, like that, because I kind of felt like the two characters actually had something going there. I just kind of felt nothing from the two characters here. I didn't feel that father-daughter bond I felt more father-daughter bond with one of the younger actresses playing Lara than I did with the two people playing father and daughter.
And the funny thing is they were really trying. They were trying very hard to say, look, this is a daughter and a father. And I mean, again, look how the lengths that the daughter is willing to go to not accept the idea that their father is dead, and et cetera, et cetera. They tried. They really did try to give you something. But again, it was rough.
You know what? You don't get a gold medal for missing your putt or whatever the hell. I don't know. Just because you tried. I tried to be a film director. I'm doing podcasting, okay?
Right. You don't get a participation trophy. Yeah.
Exactly. So, yeah, it's, you know what? It fails on all fronts. You know, if it's an attempt to be like, you know, woman kick ass movie, you failed there. If it's an attempt to translate a video game into a movie, you failed there. If it's an attempt to do a female Indiana Jones movie, you failed there. Fail, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, it's funny, as we're approaching our Who Asked You and for your considerations, I'm tempted to do them backwards. I feel like my for your consideration is going to be so short, but my Who Asked You is going to take a long time.
You know what? Just for Tomb Raider, because I tried to play a joke on you that didn't go over very well, let's mess with the audience now, and we're going to start. Joe, for your consideration.
For my consideration, as I mentioned, I did appreciate the attempt to keep things grounded, and the part where the curse ended up being a disease was clever. It was a clever twist that I didn't see coming, and did sort of stay in line with the idea that there really was no, at least not in this film anyway, that there was no actual supernatural element, that everything was grounded and everything could be explained in a realistic manner.
Right.
Again, I saw the attempt to do that, and they followed through. So I will give them that. I thought that part, that attempt was adhered to, and yeah, okay. Again, that little twist was mildly interesting.
Shoot. Well, that's all I had. I just wrote down, I really love that they pulled the rug out on us with the supernatural element. That's what I wrote down, and I was going to expand on that, but we've kind of already expanded on it. I thought it was great. Yeah. I thought it was a clever little twist. You know, you're expecting here comes the wrath of God moment, and they just kind of brought it all down. It's like, oh, you know what? I like that. I dig that. But, you know, here's the weird part, because in a way they undercut that because, you know, we're going to dynamite this wall down. And then when she unlocks it, it just kind of crumbles down. It's like, you can't tell me dynamite couldn't have gotten through that.
You know what? Yeah, and that is actually a good point, because frankly, it's almost like if you were going to do that, if you were going to try to keep everything completely grounded, well, then maybe there should have been a little more in terms of the actual science as to why, like these booby traps, for example.
Yeah.
Why does the blue and the yellow have to? What does that do? Again, they maybe
what kind of sensor knows that you've just made green?
Right. Yeah. So why does maybe there should have been more attempt. Again, the floor is just falling into nowhere. You know, with no rhyme or reason.
Yeah.
Maybe there should have been an actual attempt to show why that is happening the way it's happening. What are the mechanisms down there that's making this work? I mean, in today's day and age, it absolutely could have been done. So maybe a little more there would have been helpful.
Well, then, since we've gotten all of that out of the way, let's kick this puppy until it's dead, my friend. Who asked you?
Okay. Here's one of my big problems with this film and films like this. And it's where Raiders of the Lost Ark gets it right and all of the wannabes get it wrong. All of the imitation Raiders of the Lost Ark, and I'm specifically going to say Raiders and not just all the Indiana Jones films in general. Mm-hmm. When you watch Raiders, okay, the action starts in the tombs. It starts with the booby traps and, you know, the dark places that we can't wait to get out of, okay? He breaks out of those things, and that's when the action starts, okay? In these movies that try to be that, they spend the whole movie trying to get into the dark tombs. Mm-hmm. They get into the dark, dismal places, and the climaxes of the films happen in utter darkness. And there were whole scenes in this film where I couldn't see what the hell was happening. It was so dark in some shots.
Yeah.
So again, you really can't. I understand the name of the movie is Tomb Raider. And again, like I said, I'm not familiar enough with the game to be able to dictate how it should play out. Maybe you do need to work your way into the tombs. Maybe you have to have your film take place there. But again, I don't find that to be very compelling. I don't find the breaking into the tombs and spending all of that time in darkness and just doing the puzzles or whatever. If you're gonna do an action movie, Indiana Jones always broke out of those places, and when you broke into the daylight, that's when the big action adventure things would happen. So again, I always feel like these kinds of films always get that wrong. The idea that you're breaking into the tomb to spend the meat of your film inside these tight little confusing little sets and solving confusing little puzzles that frankly I'm just looking for the writer to sort of write them out of these problems. It doesn't do it for me. It never really has. And honestly, I hate to say it, I think the Angelina Jolie films were better because honestly, I felt that the backstory that they gave her, the fact that she's again, those films started out with, they introduce you to a character that is highly capable, that does, her training at home in her mansion, and the remember, like she was doing this crazy wires, jumping around and stuff, and all this crazy training in the big giant rooms and everything. So that when she got out into the field, you knew she was going to be able to run and jump and climb and kick some butt.
Right.
Here, the idea with this, I thought was really backwards. The idea that you're going to start out with this kind of just regular schlep, frankly. Yeah, she's a kickboxer, but that doesn't serve her at all. Again, starting from nothing, well, you kind of got nothing. You got a kid running around out in the woods, just doing the best she can. Good for her, but nothing really happens. And in the last ones, I thought at least you gave some backstory to say, look, craziness is going to happen, and here's why. All right. So I feel like I'm. My one point has grown branches, but
I don't even remember what your initial point was.
Well, that's the thing that stuck with me, is the idea that again in Raiders of the Lost Ark, again, when you watch those films and those action scenes, whether it's the first scene in the film to the finales at the end, again, you start off in the dark tombs and you break out of them.
Right.
Not the other way around, where the guts of your film happens in these dark places where you can't see what's happening. And it doesn't even matter anyway, because again, you're just waiting for writers to solve these little puzzles and whatever. So, like I said, I think that's something that they've always gotten wrong when they try to redo Indiana Jones.
All right. I can respect that. I completely agree with that. It is part of the game itself that breaking into the tomb is actually part of the adventure. So
sure,
but in this case, it just wasn't for you. That's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. But they didn't even barely do any of that. They did that for one thing and didn't even explain how they did it. At least in the case of Indiana Jones and even the original Angelina Jolie movies, they explain how they got in and how they got out. This one is just like, oh, I'm going to turn these dials a little bit. What the hell do they mean?
Right.
For me, my Who Asked You, okay, look, I know that we're in this world now where we're trying to make, these female lead action adventure movies, and I'm fine with that. I love that. I like the idea of having many different types of characters that can be these great leads. Give me a Black Widow movie, for God's sake. I'm sorry, where did that come from? Anyway, you can't then tell me that the lead is this incredible fighter, this brilliant mind, and can take care of themselves, and have that undercut every 5 freaking minutes. Oh, she got mugged. Oh, she stopped the guy, but they pulled a knife. Not knives. And they pulled a knife, and boom, the drunk guy with the shotgun saves her. It's It's like, oh no, they're on the island. They've just crashed, and you know they're all part of this group. Again, the drunk guy with the gun starts off the revolution that gives her the time to get away. She gets stabbed. The only thing she actually did for herself is when she drowned that one guy that was tracking her. And I still have no clue how the hell that guy could have possibly tracked her, considering the adventure that she took. And B, with her being like 5'5" and 90 pounds soaking wet, there's no way she's holding his face into that damn water. No way.
Right, yeah.
So and that was really the only thing she did, like, quote unquote, fiercely independent. Everything else required help. You know, she got her butt kicked so many damn times. Like, even the end, she was a dead woman. If her father hadn't chosen just that moment to blow himself up, she would have been dead. So don't tell me this is the story of a fiercely independent woman and then undercut her as you go along. You do the character no favors doing that.
Yeah. Agreed. And again, like I said, I could see the attempt to sort of keep things grounded and to not make her a ridiculous superhero,
which is fine. I get wanting
but
to do that, but there are ways.
You're right. Again, you have to show us the heroism some other way then, or give us something. But you're right. I mean, to have her rescued all the time and to have it didn't. Like I said, I mean, I never thought I'd be saying this, but I again, those Angelina Jolie films I thought did it better because that you gave them. Again, she's not a tiny girl. She was a big woman, frankly. I mean, I don't know how tall Angelina Jolie is in real life, but I've always had the impression that, I mean, when you see her in films, she looks like she's 6 feet tall.
Yeah. I don't think she's that tall, but yes, she does have amazing presence. Yes.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, she looks like she could be an Amazon. I mean, and again, the way they built her up in the beginning of those films to make her seem strong and agile and whatever, so that when she got into the field, you would believe it. Mm-hmm. That made more sense than giving us this, where we show us just a regular girl living on the street, a reasonably decent MMA fighter. Okay. Again, I mean, you didn't set us up for much, and you didn't give us much. Yeah. So, okay. I mean, you if you're trying to give us grounded, we got grounded. Well, thank you. But, I was hoping for a little bit more from this film.
Yeah, me too. But, you know what, Joe? We're going to make up for it next week. We're going to get into
we will.
We're going to get into a movie. It was one of our earliest film discussions together.
That's true. Very true.
We are going to discuss the classic, the I Sold My Body to Science, Robert Rodriguez movie, El Mariachi.
Yes, sir. I am. I tell you what, and I'm actually very excited to talk about this film.
Me too.
I can still remember. I saw this. I don't want to fast forward, but I mean, I got fond memories of the first time I saw this one, and yes, talk about inspiring on many levels as a budding film maker, but just as a fan of film, frankly.
Yeah, agreed. It was, and his book about it was even more amazing.
Excellent book.
Yep. But yes, this is we're going into a little bit of hero worship with this one, so expect a little gushing. I'm just spoiler alert. There's going to be some gushing. Yeah. But yes, very excited to be talking about this, and glad that we got this out of the way. I believe the following week we're doing Ready Player One.
Yes, we after the week after that. This is going to be, the next few weeks are going to be weird because between the New Mutants was supposed to come out and just sort of evaporated, and Avengers Infinity War moved up a week, so the schedule is a little funny looking in the next couple of weeks. But, so this week will be El Mariachi, then I believe it's Ready Player One, and I'm pretty sure after that, we're back on track. Gonna finish out the Desperado series, I guess, and then it's Avengers. We're gonna get into the Avengers leading up to Infinity War.
Yep, that's right. My God. Yep. The originally it's going to be. We were originally going to do the Wolverine movies that led to the New Mutants, and now we're doing the El Mariachi movies, and then we're doing the Avengers movies.
Yep. Very cool, and I like this too because it pulls us out of. We have a few opportunities to sort of pull out of superhero mode this year. I mean, we got superhero saturation. So whatever opportunity we had to sort of break that a little bit, we took, and this was one, the El Mariachi series.
All right. So, until next week, ladies and gentlemen, Joe, thank you so much for, calling my bluff on this one. Sort of, thank you. Sorry.
Careful what you wish for, buddy. Careful what you ask for.
You know what? I'm going to take much more care next time because, man, that was an expensive experiment.
Yeah.
All right. Until next week, ladies and gentlemen, my man Joe, thank you so much.
Amigo, see you next week.
Thanks for listening to the Reviews Without Remorse podcast with Joe and Dave. Join us here every Thursday for a new episode. And be sure to check out the Reviews Without Remorse channel on YouTube and VidMe for spoiler-free reviews of new releases, as well as in-depth discussions of current and classic cinema. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider becoming a patron. You can find our page at patreon.com. As little as $1 a month goes a long way. All clips in this podcast are used for commentary and critique, and is considered fair use. No copyright infringement is intended.